5th, 1999, almost exactly 12 years ago, was a day that changed everything for me. It was a day that everything I believed in, everything I had, everything I was, died.
Oh, I need you, Jesus, to come to my rescue. For where else can I go? No other name by which I am saved. Capture me with grace. I need you, Jesus, to come
It started my freshman year in high school, 2 years before that. I was in a church service, and the evangelist stood up, and he was doing his altar call. If you feel God, calling you to do this or do that, come down front. And this time around, he said something different I never heard a preacher say before. He said, if you feel God calling you into the ministry as a preacher, raise your hand. And at that time, I felt a kind of a tug on me, like God was telling me, Tony, raise your hand up. And I kind of laughed it off, I was about 13 years old, 13, 14, and, I was like, teenagers aren't preachers. Only old people are preachers. And so I brushed it off and ignored it, and the calling kind of seemed to go away, that God said, all right, it's fine, you don't want to do it, I won't bother you with it. Sophomore year, again, God said, Tony, I want you to preach. Kind of laughed, and I was like, we already went over this, God, I'm not going to preach, I don't want to. And again, he kind of, said, all right, that's not a problem. This whole time, I'd been sending out letters to professional wrestling schools all throughout America and Canada. That was my dream. I came to know the Lord when I was 7. However, when I was 5 is when I started watching wrestling. So people think I'm joking, but I've known who Hulk Hogan is longer. I've known who Jesus Christ is. That was my dream, was to be a wrestler. My junior year, I got a letter from the Hart Brothers School of Wrestling in Canada. I was accepted. I was in. My dream was in reach. I was going to sign up with the National Guard for 2 years. They'd give me enough money to make my move to Canada and live out my dream, do what I wanted to do. However, my junior year also, God said, Tony, I want you to preach. I laughed. I was like, look, we've already gone over this. I'm not doing it. This time, instead of saying okay, he was more like, no, seriously, I want you to preach. He wasn't letting it slide this time. I tried to ignore him for a few months, and his little whisper became more of a yell. Eventually I gave in and decided I was going to try to make a deal with him. I'll preach when I'm done doing what I want to do. When I'm done with my life, then I'll give my life to you. And it seemed like I made a deal with God, like he was okay with it. On April 5th, I was supposed to sign my life away to the National Guard. My recruiter was going to hold the paper for 5 days, turn it in on my 17th birthday. 11:45 that morning, I was driving down the road in a pickup truck. And to this day, I can describe the truck just like I could that day. It was in my lane. I swerved to miss the truck. My front tires hit loose gravel. My back tires hit mud. My car spun around. I was looking the guy dead in the eyes through his rearview mirror. And I gripped my wheel with both hands. I looked out the passenger side window and thought to myself, I'm about to wreck. About that time I noticed I had about a 60-foot drop I was heading towards with my car. At that time I realized, I'm about to die. So I closed my eyes and prepared for what was about to happen. I can still remember the way it felt as my car flipped upside down. Seemed like an eternity, the 30 feet I went down the hill. I can still hear the sound of my car crunching and crumbling as it slid down the hill. I can still feel and hear the tree that stomped my car. I laid there for a few minutes at the bottom of the hill, wondering, terrified, to open my eyes, scared of what I was about to see. Finally, I decided, I've got to do something. I can't hang upside down like this. So I opened my eyes and had to dig glass on my right eye. Finally got the glass out. I looked around and I can still see the trash and leaves that were filling in my car. And I can still look down at my hands and almost see the glass that was on my hands and the blood that was covering the glass. At that time, there was a song on the radio playing. My car was dead, but ironically, my radio still played. And it was a group, FFH, Christian group. They had a song, One of These Days, was playing. And the song's talking about how beautiful it's going to be in heaven. How one of these days they're going to see, my Savior face to face. Towards the end of the song, they say, one of these days I'm going to see my Jesus face to face. And I got to thinking, despite what I want to do, despite the wrestling dream, that sounds so much better than anything I could ever dream of. And so I folded my arms and I laid my head down and I gave up. I decided that's it. I can still feel my legs going numb, me going into shock. But as I laid there, the woods got quiet. Not a cricket was chirping, not a bird. And God spoke to me. And it wasn't that still, soft voice that I'd heard for 2.5 years. This was a voice that I heard as clearly with my ears as whenever anybody's talking to me. It was a voice that echoed through the woods. It sounded like thunder. And it just simply said, I'm not done with you yet. So I got up and I scratched and clawed trying to get out of my car. Finally made it out the back window, which ironically, the entire back window was just missing. There wasn't even shards of glass there. I went to stand up and my legs gave out. There was nothing no strength in my legs. There was nothing there. I fell to my knees. And I remember looking up through the clouds. And my prayer was simple. I said, Daddy, don't let me go out like this.